Welcome back to Shibboleth Journey lesson number 2. We talked about the two types of nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are the things that our body needs more of to preserve muscle, to provide energy to the body, immediate energy in the form of, say, carbohydrate. Micronutrition is the nutrition that we need less of that comes from the macronutrients and allows for us to have a healthy immune system, a healthy gut, allows us to live longer, to be healthy, to prosper, you should say. So we've got macronutrients and micronutrients. In Fast Track, we learned about the 4 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrate, fat, and water. These macronutrients we need in a pretty abundant supply, an adequate supply. Your body cannot produce on its own any of those macronutrients. You have to get those from the food that you consume. There are micronutrients that your body can manufacture itself based upon the quality of the macros that you're getting in. Micronutrition is your vitamins and your minerals. You need a certain balance of macro to micronutrients to be healthy. So when we're consuming processed foods, we're getting our macronutrition in, because even processed food has an abundant supply of protein, carbohydrate, fat, and water. But the reason processed foods aren't very healthy, like white bread, white rice, white pasta, is because when we consume them and we get very little blood flow to the digestive system. I mean, that's an entirely different lesson itself, but very little blood flow going to the digestive system to break them down, because the processed foods are what we call pre-digested. They're basically already digested before you consume them. The body has to do very little to no breakdown to extract any nutrition out of those processed foods that have the macros in them. But there's almost zero micronutrition. That's where you get that term empty calories. So white bread, white pasta, white rice, Coca-Cola, all those and all of their kinfolk, very, very little micronutrition. So let's take a look at long grain brown rice, which is a category 3 in Fast Track, versus white rice. So your long grain brown rice, category 3, it has the bran and the germ that surrounds the endosperm. Ew. But that's what you got going on there. So when you consume that category 3 complex carbohydrate, you consume it, blood flow goes to the digestive system to extract any micronutrition from this unprocessed long grain brown rice. And your body has to work a little bit, and by the way, the more you have to digest a food, the less insulin response you'll end up having, because your body's having to work. So it's slower digestion, less blood sugar rise, less insulin. So as your body is trying to break down this long grain brown rice, everything is just more optimal from a fat bus perspective. And you will eventually, your body will get to those vitamins and minerals and extract them and be able to use them and propagate them as the body needs. When we consume white rice, processed rice, that's very much pre-digested, the bran and the germ that the body has to break through to get to the endosperm is gone. All you're eating when you eat white rice is endosperm. And you get an instantaneous blood sugar rise, a fast one. And you know what that means? A very fast and rapid fat bus on the scene, ready to pick up and gobble up fat and store the fat. When we consume a plate full of long grain brown rice, now you shouldn't do that by itself when you're trying to lose weight. But when you're consuming that long grain brown rice, it's not equivalent to like 30 teaspoons of pure sugar. Now, Travis, there's no sugar listed on the rice package in the nutritional profile. No, but it metabolizes as sugar because of that endosperm. And your body's having to break that down, that bran and that germ, and get to it. Slower blood sugar rise, less insulin. But we put white rice on that plate. Processed, disgusting endosperm. There's no blood flow going to the digestive system. It's like shooting up with sugar. And I know you look on a white rice package and it says 0 sugar, but it's metabolizing it just like sugar would. Worse, it's very high on the glycemic index. And by the way, just a little side bonus note, white rice doesn't have any flavor. There's no bran or germ. It doesn't have any flavor at all. It's just absorbing the flavors that you eat with it. You're just eating it for the texture, but it's causing you a problem. You can have it on a holiday, but in fact, you probably should never consume it. There's no reason to. Why not have long grain brown rice with a category 1 and 2 or 7 and 2 that you learned about in Fast Track? Or why not have, say, riced cauliflower? That's even better. That's more optimal for fat loss, and it too will absorb the flavors that you eat with it and give you some texture. The point here is when we eat empty calories, empty macros, and the body breaks those down, we're not getting really any benefit. It's just evil. The Bible talks about how anything that a man lays his hand to, that God provides, anything that we put our hand to, and the more we put our hand to, the more corrupt it is. And that's what we're dealing with all these processed foods. A white rice is nothing but pure, pure, pre-digested carbohydrate. No micronutrition, no phytonutrition, nothing for cellular integrity or health, just empty calories that are easily turned into fat and also help store any fat that you consume with it. And what do we usually cook rice with? Now you've got a whole new problem. Typically cook it with some long chain triglyceride. So we're just getting started with these lessons, and I hope it brings more light to what we learned in Fast Track over time, and you can start connecting the dots just like I did so many years ago. Really changed my life, give me new perspective. Hope you enjoyed this short lesson.